I know you're scared. Yeah, I'd be too. If I were you. I know you're scared. I'd be too. If I were you. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game.
Hello, everyone. JJ Vikings here with special guest, Darren Wolfson from KSTP, right?
KSTP, JJ, good to see you. I love your passion. I'm glad we were able to make this work.
Yeah, I'm glad too. Welcome to the show. You're a news guy, a reporter, a sports reporter too. Just, I wanted to go right off the bat and ask you a question. So I wanted to ask, how were you able to report on not just sports, but other things as well, and show lots of versatility on your job and make a great journalism career?
Yeah, I mean, I love it, JJ. Coming out firing. That's a great question. I discovered at a young age like you that, okay, I like playing sports, but I'm just not that good. So it was when I was in high school. So even a little bit older than you are right now, I did a mentorship here in the Twin Cities with the ABC television affiliate. So started to learn while still in high school about the business. Also did a mentorship at KFAN Radio, which is now the radio voice, the home and voice. You've had PA, I believe, on your podcast, Paul Allen, who's a good friend of mine. They're the home of the Vikings. And so I was able to cultivate relationships on the radio side, learn about the radio business, then learn about TV, local journalism that way. Took a bunch of classes at the University of Minnesota. So sure, I feel confident. Now, hey, JJ, I work in the toy department, right? It's sports. So I just came from Target Field doing some stuff before the Twins Red Sox game. But I feel confident if in a pinch, let's say, God forbid, some big news story happens in the next 20 minutes. I feel okay, I could go throw a shirt and tie on. I have one here at the station, right? If I need to go do some news reporting, I feel like based on the education I got in school, plus just being able to ask the right questions, being aware of my surroundings, right? I'm big on be where the story is. So I went over to Target Field an hour before the clubhouse opened because I just wanted to see if I could discover anything. So I went out to the field just to see. Didn't stumble into anything, but I'm big on pounding the pavement. You want to be out and about and you want to make calls. You want to develop strong relationships, actual dialogue, conversations, texting and all that. No, on occasion, right? You have to text, but I'm big on personal relationships. The best way to build those personal relationships is to be out and about. So pound the pavement, go find stories that nobody else is telling. Everybody, literally everybody, JJ, has a story. And so go tell those stories. I am big on that. And I feel like just being able to ask the right questions, just knowing my surroundings. If I need to go over to the state capitol, I'm not going to be some sort of political expert, but I could report on the news of the day. If I need to go to a car crash, some monster car crash, or, going back many years when the 35W bridge collapsed here in Minneapolis, if I need to go report on a story like that, I absolutely could, based on the education I've gotten, plus just paying attention, knowing what the heck is going on, reading the newspaper. I don't even know if you know what a newspaper is, right? Because everything's online now, but reading a hard copy of the newspaper, watching the local news, watching the national news, occasionally flipping on CNN or MSNBC, maybe even on occasion Fox News, right? Just to get a temperature of what's taking place, not only here in the metro area, the Twin Cities, but across the country and really across the world.
Wow, that's all so amazing. And pounding the pavement, that's a quote I have to write down, for my future. But what I do think, well, first of all, to what you said, I actually did read the newspaper, no matter where I was, no matter what state I lived in, I'd always just flip to the Vikings side of the newspaper, nothing else. And,
love it.
I feel like Vikings fans sort of need that kind of a heartbreak to know that they're settled with the team, because a lot of Vikings fans have gone through a lot, and that can be really tough. And I wanted to ask you, when did you specifically get into, like, when did you get set on sports? Like, when did your love for sports really manifest?
I mean, about your age, give or take a year or two. But my late father was always big on baseball, basketball. I was born in Philadelphia. We moved here after my second grade year. So I don't know if I'm an official Minnesotan yet or not. I've been here since 1987. So I don't know. Like, this is a very provincial marketplace, but I think since I've been here for 36 of my 44 years on this planet, I'd like to think that I'm a true Minnesotan, but like just my dad and his passion for sports. And I hooked onto it, right? So, it was the Philadelphia Eagles. It was football too, right? So it was the Eagles, it was the Sixers, it was the Phillies, just building a passion for those franchises. Not as much hockey. My dad wasn't a big hockey guy. So we come here to the state of hockey, right? Which is, by the way, a marketing term, but there are a lot of hockey players. I'm not denying that here in Minnesota, but I never gravitated toward hockey, never had an inkling to, hey, throw on the skates, learn how to skate. Did eventually learn how to skate a little bit just because all my friends were out there playing, boot hockey that turned into pickup ice hockey. So I wanted to learn to at least, participate with them, but just never, didn't like it all that much. And, I played, little league and transitioned a little bit past sixth grade with baseball and played a little bit of basketball past sixth grade. But by the time I got to high school, I just wasn't good enough. Now, in hindsight, I wish I had pushed it a little bit further. Like, I wasn't a train wreck as a basketball player. I wasn't a train wreck as a baseball player. It was okay. Right. So I probably, in hindsight, JJ, gave up a little too soon, but, soon realized, hey, like, I love sports. Maybe I'm not great at sports, but I love sports. I'd love to find a way to make sports my living. And so, it dovetailed that way. Right. And it began, as I laid out, in high school. Before I graduated high school, I was doing a mentorship at the ABC television affiliate here in the Twin Cities, at the sports radio station here in the Twin Cities, KFAN, and built those relationships. So it made my college decision easy. I got accepted into the University of Minnesota. And at that point, JJ, I was like, why would I go somewhere else? There are excellent journalism schools. Like Syracuse is excellent, JJ. Missouri is excellent. Northwestern is excellent. There are many others. I'm leaving a few that should be on the list. I'm not naming them right this second, but like those three in particular, really good. I actually looked long and hard at the University of Illinois in Champaign, Illinois, but it didn't make sense for me to leave the Twin Cities. I had built all these relationships. So I started to take classes, got accepted, started to take classes at the University of Minnesota. Then it went from there. So just when you find a passion like you have, I mean, God love you, JJ. You found a passion at a young age. Run with that passion. Keep doing what you're doing. Your future is incredibly bright.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And also, I wanted to ask you another question. Did you ever report on a Minnesota Vikings game or anything Vikings related?
Well, sure. I mean, we divvy up duties here at the local ABC affiliate. So I end up working a handful of games during the season, whether it's on the road or at home. And so I'm in the locker room post game asking questions and then reporting on TV later that night. Heck, I've traveled on the road with the Vikings. I was there when Kirk Cousins won his one playoff game as a Viking in New Orleans. Remember the deep throw to Adam Thielen and the winning touchdown pass to Kyle Rudolph? And the Vikings got spanked 6 days later in San Francisco in the second round. But I was in New Orleans reporting on that game. I was actually in New Orleans because I was working freelance for CBSSports.com, the Brett Favre game, when we thought the Vikings were going to go to the Super Bowl and ended up losing in heartbreak fashion. But I was in New Orleans. That would have been January of 2010. And so, I've been on the road with the Vikings. I've been here. Heck, I was over at the facility the other day for something. I'm over there a lot, almost every day during training camp, a lot of the days during the week in season. Like, I'm there typically Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, some Fridays as well. And if I'm not like at the game directly, I'm still watching every game, heck, rewatching games and texting people, calling people to gain even more insight, because I never claim, JJ, to have all the answers. In fact, I rarely have the answers when it comes to the National Football League. There are so many different intricacies to different plays, what guys are thinking, what their assignments are. So I never claim to be an expert on any of that stuff. So I try to reach out to people who are the experts. So, I'm constantly digging, in season, off season, all that stuff for any bit of knowledge and information I can get my hands on.
Yeah. My mom always told me, always have a paper and pen with you, because you're gonna see information that you're gonna want to soak in, and it's always good to have something ready to take notes with. And I think that's very important as well. What I've specifically been taking a lot of notes on, like recently, the draft and NFL free agency. Like right now, I'm really excited to see a Justin Jefferson extension, or the Vikings possibly signing Xavier Howard, things like that. But I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were about, and what they still are about the draft, specifically JJ McCarthy going to the Minnesota Vikings.
I liked it. I mean, I get it, JJ, that the plan, like more than any other plan, was can we move up to 3 to New England to get Drake May? Like, I'm positive they loved the idea of landing Drake May here. But you can only offer so much. And hey, I said it on Score North on Channel 5 going back many weeks. My sense was they were comfortable with any of Drake May, JJ McCarthy, or Jaden Daniels. Well, we saw Jaden Daniels go 2, that Washington wasn't going to move off that pick. Clearly, New England, like the Vikings were willing to offer 11, 23, next year's first. The Vikings were willing to offer a lot. New England wouldn't budge. At some point when you're Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, you got to say, okay, enough is enough. Like, I'm willing to give you a lot. And if you're not willing to do it, like, I can't offer anymore. I'm not offering you a Herschel Walker-esque package, because they knew deep down, hey, like, we like JJ McCarthy a lot. And so to me, the way it played out, like, to be able to read the room correctly, knowing that the New York Giants were not going to take JJ McCarthy, so you didn't have to find your way up to 5 or 4 to let the board fall the way it did. Now, hey, I'm not sure the Raiders or the Broncos were going to move up to 10. So you could argue the Vikings gave up, even too much to move from 11 to 10. But I was okay with that. It's not like they gave up 23 or next year's first. To ensure that you got JJ McCarthy, I was plenty comfortable with it. Then to land Dallas Turner, like, JJ, I'm telling you, they were shocked. They couldn't believe that Atlanta passed on him at pick 8. Like, the Vikings had legit interest in Dallas Turner at pick 11. Like, if they couldn't maneuver, if McCarthy had gone pick 6 to the Giants, like, they were comfortable, plenty comfortable. Like, they love Dallas Turner. Like, they would have taken Turner at 11. That's also if Byron Murphy, the interior defensive lineman from Texas, was off the board. I actually don't know, like, if Murphy and Turner were on the board. I actually don't know for sure who they would have selected, because they absolutely loved Byron Murphy, but they absolutely loved Dallas Turner. But just from a positional need standpoint, like interior defensive lineman, maybe a bigger need than edge rusher. Although to me, you can never have too many edge rushers, but just the way it worked out. And hey, I get it. Some Vikings fans are upset that the Vikings gave up what they did to go from 23 to 17, but to maintain next year's first round pick, like, to me, last Thursday night was an A+. I think it was a phenomenal night for the Vikings.
Yeah, we won this draft for sure. And I think Dallas Turner is what shocked me the most. And back to your point about JJ McCarthy, yes, I will always like Jaden Daniels and Drake May and all those other great quarterbacks. But when it comes down to a guy that you can feel comfortable with, a guy that can help your team, a guy that doesn't have to be Superman, and a guy whose coach appreciates him, that's JJ McCarthy. And it just feels so different having him in Minnesota. It feels like he belongs there, more than the other quarterbacks did. And in all honesty, I feel like this move is really gonna say something about this Vikings team positively. And just imagine Kwesi continuing to build a team around his quarterback and taking some of the pressure off his young quarterback. Our defense is already booming. We just got to keep building this team and hope to get to the top.
Yeah, I mean, right now they are positioned to have like a ton of cap space next March. So I get it. They don't have a bunch of draft capital next April when it comes to the 2025 draft, but they do have their first round pick next April. then to have all the cap space, like right now they're top 5. Like they are positioned to be one of the top 5 teams with cap space next March. So they can go spend in free agency. So yeah, like I'm liking the position they are in. Maybe you take a little bit of a step backwards this year, right? Like I hope Vikings fans aren't expecting McCarthy to A, start day one, B, lead them to 10 or 11 victories. I think that's aggressive, really aggressive. I mean, when looking at the landscape of the NFC North, I get it right now. Lions, Packers, and if you want to say the Bears are ahead of the Vikings as well, I understand it. But it can flip, JJ, so quickly. And if I were a Vikings fan, I'm telling you, I've been around him enough. I would believe wholeheartedly in Kevin O'Connell. That is a leader. That is a guy that locker room wants to fight for. They love playing for him. I get it. We can nitpick some in-game stuff. I just think he's brilliant when it comes to just knowing the quarterback position, how to develop a quarterback. Vikings fans should be so excited at the prospect of Kevin now being able to work every day with JJ McCarthy. I would have bet, just because I think the infrastructure here in Minnesota is really, really good compared to New England, Washington, Denver, some of the other spots that landed quarterbacks. If you want to argue Atlanta, fine. But like, it's so set up, Chicago too. It's so set up for a quarterback to have success here. When you have an elite left tackle, an elite right tackle, or at least a really good right tackle, you've got perhaps the best receiver in the game. If he's not, Justin Jefferson is top 2, top 3. If you want to say Tyreek Hill, fine, whatever. Justin is up there, okay? Jordan Addison, really, really good. TJ Hawkinson, maybe not back week 1, but back by, middle of the season at the latest. So he will be back. He's progressing well, right? So when you've got a really good tight end, you've got the receivers, you've got the tackles, I'm telling you, now you have a run game that you feel pretty good about. I'm just telling you, like, this is a ready-made situation for a rookie quarterback. It may take some time, right? And if I had to bet right now, Sam Darnold is going to start week 1. I don't think JJ McCarthy is going to start week 1, but we know it's when, not if, that McCarthy will transition to being the starting quarterback. And if you're a Vikings fan, you should feel really, really good about that.
I do feel really, really good about the Vikings' future. And, the thing is, JJ McCarthy, unlike these other quarterbacks, we're not asking him to go out there and go save the franchise. No, we're asking him to go in and work with the guys that we already have to have a successful team. And, considering how much we've done and how much we've built our team, TJ Hawkinson, we don't suspect him not being there in week 1 as much of a problem as we thought it would be back in February when we thought of him not being in the lineup. So I think that JJ McCarthy can definitely work without Hawkinson for the time that he's gone. But I also think that he can beat out Sam Darnold pretty easily. But I'm not going to count out Sam Darnold because he's never had a top-tier receiver to throw to. And having a guy like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Brandon Powell's back too. Just having those kinds of guys that can actually get you first downs, touchdowns, and big plays, that can really help your team going forward. That can help your team in the long run, and that is something that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it like how Jim Harbaugh used J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. You didn't ask him to, sling the ball 40 times a game, right? It was such a good balance. But what J.J. did so well, J.J., is third down efficiency, play action, right? Those are things that will carry over to here.
Absolutely.
And so he's not going to be asked to be some sort of savior. I know fans might say, hey, he has to be the savior. We've never won a Super Bowl. We've never taken a quarterback top 10 in the draft. So first time in Vikings history, we take a quarterback in the top 10, all that, right? So I know some fans want to look at him as some sort of savior, but the Vikings don't look at him like that. And nor should fans. He's a piece and he's fully capable. He's a winner, right? I mean, there is something to be said about he won at his high school in the Chicago area, transitions to IMG Academy, win. So he won a state title at the high school in Illinois. Then he transitions to IMG Academy, wins a title. Then he transitions to Michigan, wins a national title. That's not just random. I sat down with him last Friday, JJ. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe you're what, 13?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So it's hard because the way you can articulate the game and, the way you've got the gift of gab, I wish my 13-year-old had that. So it's a credit to you. But when talking about JJ McCarthy, he turned 21 on January 20th, by the way, which is also my birthday. That's why I cite that specific date, because it's in my head after he told me his birthday is January 20th. So him and I share a birthday. So he turned 21 on January 20th. The way he is able to articulate things, process things. I threw some fastballs at him, right? Boom, 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 boom. Like nothing fazed him. He was ready for every question I threw his way. Direct eye contact. He asked for my name at the beginning, remembered my name at the end. Right now, I don't know if I'll remember my name in 1 or 2 weeks, but in that moment, like as he's thinking about all these questions I'm firing at him, still remembered my name, remembered my photographer's name, remembered our intern that was there, remembered his name as well. Just super, super impressive. Doesn't mean it's going to translate to, him being a future MVP or anything like that. But just in the moment of last Friday, being in his presence for the first time, I was blown away. I was so impressed by him.
That's amazing. Next time you interview him, take me with you, please.
Who knows when the next time will be, although they'll have some access next Friday for rookie minicamp. So rookie minicamp is next Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll get a chance to speak with JJ on Friday, although I might be at Target Center for Game 3 of Timberwolves Nuggets. So I don't know my schedule yet if I'll be at TCO Performance Center next Friday. Unfortunately, I have to also go to a funeral early afternoon. One of my best friends growing up, his father passed away the other day. So I have a funeral, and then I need to be at Target Center. So I may not get to rookie minicamp, but they have a bunch of stuff the next handful of weeks. I had a nice conversation earlier today with CJ Ham. Also caught up earlier today with Spencer Rowland from Apple Valley High School, an undrafted free agent out of North Carolina. He signed with the Vikings. So the Vikings are at the forefront of my mind. Plus, I think we're like a few days away, JJ, from the schedule release.
Yeah. Hey,
Hawkinson,
I cannot wait.
And I don't think, Hawkinson could start the year on the physically unable to perform list, the PUP list, which means he misses what? Is it 4 games if you're on the PUP list? Is it something
most
like
likely.
that? But what if those first 4 games are like Atlanta, Green Bay, Detroit, and who else is on their schedule? Do they have the AFC South? So Jacksonville. Okay, so I'm just saying, like, let's say it's Houston. Let's say it's Atlanta, Houston, Green Bay, and Detroit. If you don't have Hawkinson for those 4 games, you'd feel pretty bad. But Hawkinson, he'll be okay. He'll be back soon enough. It may not be right at the beginning of the season.
And that'll be okay. We have just enough to work with to kind of make up for that. But, there can't be another TJ Hawkinson. So we kind of have to rely on Josh Oliver to step up, Johnny Munt to step up a little bit. So I think that, mini camp, training camp, whatever kind of training this offseason hopefully they can show that they can kind of be a decent replacement for TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, I mean, you're never fully going to replace him, but even a guy like Nick Muse might, have a chance. And hey, we saw glimpses like when they signed Josh Oliver. Yes, like they cited how good of a run blocker he was in Baltimore, but even cited going back to his days at San Jose State that he's fully capable of catching the ball, and we saw it enough. And so there might even be a little bit more. Like if Josh Oliver, is at, for those watching as opposed to listening to our conversation, JJ, they can see my hand placement. Like if Josh Oliver is, I'm like at shoulder level, right? Like let's say he's there now, he still has another level he can get to, like maybe up to my head, right? Like maybe we haven't seen everything Josh Oliver can do from a pass catching standpoint. So yeah, I'm not overly worried. I mean, if anything, I wish they would ban that low hit, going back to what took place on, what was that, Christmas Eve, December 24th, with Kirby Joseph of the Lions going low and all that. We could have a healthy conversation about, whether that's a dirty play or not, even though it's legal. Like maybe it's time to start banning that sort of hit, right? But hey, he'll be all right. He will. Yeah. It's not a career-ending type injury or anything crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it with Tyler Higbee as well, right? With the Rams. I get it. TJ spoke to us a few weeks ago, and I thought he made a lot of valid points, right? And, now I'm not sure, like because a concussion is a brain injury. So like TJ's like, I'd rather have another concussion because I can come back in a week or two. That's no guarantee, right? When talking about a brain injury, right? But he's like, I'd rather get hit high than get hit low, right?
True.
So, maybe the NFL just needs to look at that because, like, it's not like Kirby, I mean, he did as he's been trained to do, right? Because you go high, then it's a 15-yard flag and all that. So you're just asking for trouble. So you can avoid being penalized by going low. But the fallout from that is something that, happened with TJ or Tyler Higbee. So I'd like for the NFL to take a long look at that.
I feel like he kind of is dirty. I'm not trying to be biased because he's a Lions player, but I've seen the difference between Kirby Joseph going low and Cameron Bynum, our safety, going low because
Harrison Smith, yeah,
or Harrison Smith, yeah, because they tackle with a different kind of technique and a safer technique. Like they still hit, but they don't make it look dirty. And I feel like these players have gotten away with a lot. Like against the Falcons, that hit on KJ Osborne last year, or like I said, the hit on Hockenson, like we just talked about. So lots of these hits, I feel like they've been gotten away with, and hopefully the NFL looks a bit closer at these things.
Yeah, although, remember, like you could have a great conversation with Harrison Smith. Hopefully at some point you can get Harrison on this podcast, JJ, because he's so darn good. Not always good in front of the TV cameras, but you get him off to the side. Like such a smart guy. I mean, he'll tell you it is so much harder to play defensive back today compared to 15 years ago. Just the way the rules have been adjusted. I mean, it so much favors the offensive side. And I get it. The NFL wants to see points, right? Offense, heck, generates fantasy football players, right? And the gambling part of things and ticket buyers. Like, you don't want to watch one of those Raiders-Vikings games from December, right? 3-0. I didn't mind it as a hardcore football fan, but a lot of people were like, this is unwatchable. I can't watch this. So I get it. The NFL wants to see points scored. But I'm telling you, you could have a great conversation with Harrison Smith about that.
Yeah, and I guaranteed none of these guys, like in the past, like Ray Lewis or any of those star players, any of the Purple People Eaters, I don't think any of them could play in today's NFL. Because
it would be hard.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go as far as to say they couldn't play, like talented enough dudes and good enough dudes and all that you can adjust, you can find a way. So I'm not going to say like couldn't, but yeah, would it be hard? Undoubtedly.
Yeah, some guys are born to hit.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on. You have a great journalist mind, and also you're
I don't know about that, JJ, but I appreciate that. I mean, maybe you're following the script. Did you get my email back? I said, hey, make sure you read this verbatim. Thank you for the kind words. Don't overrate me though, JJ, but I love what you do. I'm telling you, I love your passion. The fact that you know what you want to do at such a young age, run with it. Like your future, I'm telling you. Like if I could bet on someone's stock, I'm betting on you. So love it. Keep up the wonderful work. Love it. And enjoy the schedule release. Like I think it's next Thursday? Is that out there yet? Do we know? Is it next Thursday?
Should be next Thursday.
Yeah. So, I mean, that'll be fun. I mean, we know the opponents, but it's fun to see, okay, week 1, this opponent, week 2, this opponent. And I'm telling you, you'll see Vikings content next weekend with rookie minicamp. The next thing you know, it's OTAs where we get some access. And hey, we're about a month away from mandatory minicamp. So things are starting to ramp up big time over at TCO Performance Center.
Yeah, so excited. But I want to thank you for coming on and thank you the viewers for watching and Skol Vikings.
That was great, JJ. Thank you.
Of course.